Artificial flavors are everywhere. They appear in sodas, snacks, candies, baked goods, protein bars, and even foods marketed as healthy. The word artificial often triggers suspicion, while natural feels safer by default. Yet artificial flavors have been part of modern food for more than a century, quietly shaping taste expectations and global diets. The question of safety is not just about chemistry, but about history, regulation, dosage, and how the human body actually interacts with flavor compounds. Understanding whether artificial flavors are safe requires stepping beyond fear-based assumptions and looking closely at what they are, how they're made, and how they're used. Right here on History of Simple Things. Artificial flavors are chemical compounds designed to mimic specific tastes and aromas found in nature. The flavor of a strawberry, for example, is not a single substance, but a complex mix of dozens of volatile molecules. Artificial flavoring isolates or recreates key compounds that give the brain the impression of strawberry, even if no fruit is involved. These compounds can be identical at a molecular level to those found naturally, despite being synthesized in a lab. In contrast, natural flavors are extracted from plant or animal sources, but may undergo just as much chemical processing before reaching a finished product. The distinction between artificial and natural flavors is largely about origin, not chemical behavior. Once inside the body, a molecule behaves according to its structure, not whether it came from a strawberry field or a laboratory flask. This is a critical point often lost in public discussion. Artificial flavors emerged out of necessity and efficiency. Natural flavor extraction can be expensive, inconsistent, and resource-intensive. Crops vary from season to season, and natural extracts can spoil, oxidize, or lose potency. Artificial flavors provide stability, affordability, and predictability. They allow food manufacturers to produce consistent products at scale, ensuring that a soda tastes the same in every country and every batch. They also make certain foods possible at all. Some flavors, like banana or vanilla, would be prohibitively expensive if derived entirely from natural sources. Artificial alternatives democratized access to flavored foods, making them widely available rather than luxury items. The safety of artificial flavors is not left to guesswork. In many countries, including the United States and members of the European Union, flavor compounds undergo extensive evaluation before approval. Toxicologists study how these substances are metabolized, how they interact with cells, and whether they pose risks at realistic consumption levels. Regulatory bodies such as the FDA, EFSA, and JECFA set acceptable daily intake limits based on large safety margins. These limits are deliberately conservative. They are often set hundreds of times lower than the amount shown to cause harm in animal studies. The assumption is not that people will consume perfectly, but that safeguards should protect even those with higher-than-average intake. One of the most important principles in toxicology is that dose determines danger. Even water can be harmful in extreme amounts. Artificial flavors are used in very small quantities, often measured in parts per million. The human body encounters far larger quantities of naturally occurring chemicals every day, many of which are biologically active or potentially toxic at high levels. When concerns arise about artificial flavors, they often stem from studies using doses far beyond what any person would realistically consume. Translating these findings into everyday risk without context can distort perception. Safety assessments focus on real-world exposure, not hypothetical extremes. The word chemical has become synonymous with danger in popular culture, despite the fact that everything consumed is made of chemicals. Apples contain cyanogenic compounds. Coffee contains acrylamide. Nutmeg contains myristicin, which can be toxic in high doses. These substances are not feared because they occur naturally, yet their risks are well documented. Artificial flavors suffer from a perception problem rooted in unfamiliarity rather than evidence. Laboratory synthesis feels abstract and threatening, even when the resulting molecule is identical to one found in nature. This bias, known as the naturalistic fallacy, assumes that natural equals safe and artificial equals harmful, an assumption science does not support. Long-term health questions are legitimate and deserve serious attention. Researchers continuously re-evaluate approved flavor compounds as new data emerges. Some substances once considered safe have been restricted or removed when evidence suggested potential harm. This ongoing process is a strength of food safety systems, not a weakness. Current evidence does not show that approved artificial flavors cause cancer, neurological damage, or systemic illness at permitted levels. However, this does not mean all flavored foods are harmless. Artificial flavors often appear in ultra-processed products high in sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. Health issues linked to these foods are frequently blamed on additives rather than the overall nutritional profile. Children are often at the center of artificial flavor debates. Their smaller body size and developing systems require additional caution. Regulatory agencies account for this by basing limits on lifetime exposure starting from early childhood. Still, individual sensitivity varies. Some people report headaches, digestive discomfort, or behavioral changes after consuming certain flavored products. These reactions are real experiences, but they do not necessarily indicate toxicity. Sensory sensitivity, allergies, or reactions to other ingredients may play a role. Distinguishing correlation from causation is difficult without controlled studies, which is why anecdotal evidence alone cannot define safety standards. Artificial flavors are not the villains they are often portrayed to be, nor are they entirely irrelevant to health discussions. Their safety is supported by decades of research, regulation, and real-world consumption data. At approved levels, they do not pose a known health risk. The greater concern lies in the types of foods they are commonly used in and the dietary patterns they support. Understanding artificial flavors requires moving past fear-based assumptions and focusing on evidence, context, and moderation. Safety is not determined by whether something is natural or artificial, but by how it interacts with the body over time. In that sense, artificial flavors are less a threat and more a reflection of how modern food systems balance science, convenience, and taste. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.